Welcome back, everyone. I am John Ryan. This is the Predictive Playbook. This is Manny's Irish Pub, sports betting edition. And we did an awful lot of shows today. I had Jimmy Adams and Adam Trigger the last 2 days, along with Jesse Scholl, Mad George, who lives over there in that old place called Athens, Greece. And just running a little late today. I had a little technology connection issue with my headphones to my M1. But, we got it done. We got it done. So we are now within 30 hours of the first game of the NFL regular season. I think I should say that again. We are joined by Jesse Scholl. But I just said, Jesse, I just said it really slow. I said we are within less than 30 hours of the first game of the first week of a total of 285 regular season games. Yeah, I don't know how to feel.
You got to be pretty excited about it.
I am. But before we get into it, many of you guys in the chat room know I do a financial show, and I was a chief currency strategist on Wall Street in my last position that led me up to the year 2000, and I still trade, and I love to trade, and a lot of my things I learned on Wall Street also apply to sports betting. For example, a lot of you guys and gals know that I do intraday or intra-game, as I would call it. But in-game live betting is the same as putting on positions in the marketplace. And for those that are kind of super young relative to me, you want to Google trading pits, the Chicago Board of Trade, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And we used to actually use hand signals like this to make trades. And when a lot of people would yell and scream at each other to get attention. Really wasn't necessary, but there was 3,000 traders in the Chicago bond pit. So don't think bonds are boring for a second, because they're one of the best futures contract in the history of the world. Every 32nd of a point is worth $31.25. So if you have 10 contracts, that's $1 million in bonds, but every 32nd of a tick is $312.50. And these things move awful fast. So what I'm going to show you here is Bitcoin. And a lot of our friends over at WagerTalk like to follow this. And it's not good news. I'll tell you that right now. It's not good news in my opinion. But we were talking about this yesterday, Jesse. I think we were talking about it with you. We were talking about it on Manny's Pub. That if you're watching a football game and the team you bet on is not doing well, and they didn't do well the game before, you can't then the following week say, well, they're due. They're a much better team than what they are. I know they are. Well, I'm here to tell you kind of, harshly that no, you don't. And neither do I, and neither does Jesse. So when you watch a game and a team struggles and they're not executing, they're creating penalties, they're blown coverages, touchdowns are being given up because of mental mistakes, then that team is in disarray. That doesn't mean they're going to turn it around in a week, even at the NFL level. So what I have here is Bitcoin, and that is a Japanese candlestick. And I do this show with Steve Merrill, WagerTalk, and he's pretty astute in his own right. But that red candle yesterday is called an engulfing candle, and it makes sense because it basically engulfs several days previous. Now, you only need to engulf one candle, but the more that it does, the more important and the more powerful it becomes. So what we have here is just an enormous range on that day, which was yesterday. It was like 42,000 all the way up to 53,125, which was the recent high. Now, we've been in the 60s before, but this is the highest we've been since the correction, which took us just a shade under 30,000. So these type of engulfing candles, especially when they're negative like this, and you can see the little wick at the bottom. Well, it's not little; it's a huge wick. That's probably like 25 grand per contract. Today's range actually was pretty big, but it looks so small compared to the engulfing candle. The fact that we didn't make a new low is somewhat constructive, but the fact that we traded down on the day leads me to believe that unless we get back above 47,000 sometime soon, like Thursday or Friday, we're heading back down. And I don't know where that leads us, but for those that trade Bitcoin, I trade the futures contracts because I can short it. I can make money when it goes down. You can't do that with the real Bitcoin. But this is just something I'm seeing. And the same thing can be said for the S&P 500. And I'll try to make time for a show with Steve tomorrow to give the update because we're coming into that seasonal period of September, October. We all remember, I guess not everybody was born in October of 87, but October 19th, 1987 was the first major crash since 1929. And then we had 93 was another one. Then we had the 98, 99, 2000 period. Then we had 2008 with the real estate crisis. And we've had some, pockets of, air pockets where prices went down very hard, very quick, but they've been absorbed because of all the stimulus that we have gotten because of COVID. Now, eventually, there's going to be a day where there's no more buyers left. And I'm starting to feel with my instincts and my experience that we're getting pretty close to that day. But you can hedge your IRA. You don't have to go into cash. You can use put options. And that's what I'll be talking about tomorrow. The very conservative way to hedge your portfolio. Options will go up in value the more the market turns south. In other words, goes down. So this is one that should be in the NYU School of Business. This chart that you're looking at right now because of that huge market move yesterday up and down. And the failure up to 53,000 is critical. That ties into one of my Fibonacci numbers. So I'm not liking this chart at all. That doesn't mean that 5 years from now, Jesse, we're not at 200,000. But right now, short term, the next several months, this is not looking real bullish to me. So we'll leave it at that. But I love tying in the similarities and the characteristics of a betting market. You have buyers and sellers. You have buyers tomorrow of the Dallas Cowboys, and those people would be sellers of Tampa Bay. And conversely, you can have buyers of Tampa Bay and sellers of Dallas. That's the betting line. And same thing in the Bitcoin, the same thing in Apple stock, the same thing in any financial instrument that's traded on an open exchange. It's the same thing. It's just that those markets, the spread moves a lot more in greater ranges, whereas sports is a pretty well-defined marketplace. It doesn't swing too much. Once in a while, we get 6-point moves in college football, but in Apple, you could have a 30-point move in an hour. You won't see that in sports, but it's the same process. I won't mention any of the media outlets, but I mean, guys and gals, you all know who they are. When they say that, boy, let's see what Vegas is thinking. Well, just because Tampa Bay now is favored by 8, that's not what Vegas is thinking. That's what the market has caused them to move the price. They set a price at 6.5 months ago, hoping that would find an equilibrium of equal buyers and sellers. In other words, that would be a price point where we'd have the same number of people betting Dallas as we would Tampa Bay. Well, that proved to be wrong. There was some news that came out. The market absorbed that news and now is factoring in everything that we know to date. So always try to remember that. It's not Vegas saying that, or trying to trap you. Tampa Bay now has gone up to 8.5, or I guess it went as high as 9, Jesse. That's not Vegas trying to trap you. That's you saying that, do I still like Tampa Bay at 9, or is this the place I've been waiting for 2 months to unload on Dallas? So that's my little spiel to start the show. And what do you think about all that, Jesse?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite myths, is that Vegas is trying to trap bettors into betting on one side so that they can take the winner on another side. Vegas doesn't want to pick winners. Vegas wants equal amounts on both sides and take the bigger issue. it's a bad business model to load up all the bettors on one side.
Yeah, it is, and don't forget they get anywhere from 5 to 10% on the bets, depending on what the vig is. So sometimes even more. So that if they have a perfect book with, say, 2 million on each team, they're guaranteed to make 200,000 no matter who wins. So therefore, they don't care who wins.
Would you liken the Tampa Bay Bucks right now betting on the Tampa Bay Bucks? Would you liken that to buying into the S&P 500 at all-time highs?
Well, it's starting to get that way. That's a great example because you have the reigning Super Bowl champs. That would obviously be analogous to a new record high. Tom Brady set a new record high with number of rings. No franchise has more rings than him, so that has to be the record high. And now you're in game one of a brand new season against a Dallas team that was just not a typical Dallas team last year in the least. Prescott was out, and the list goes on and on and on. They're a different team now, but they also have issues. So I really don't know if I can trust Dallas at +9 or 9.5. I really should pull up the odds here and see where we are now. But this, you may disagree, Jesse, with this, but this doesn't feel like a steam move. This feels more like the public thinking that this is an absolute no-brainer. And it might be. I'm seeing 8.5. Actually, Bet Online has -9.5 +105. That's kind of a crazy line. But Heritage is at 8. That's always a good one to follow. And Penny's at 8. Caesars 8.5. South Point and Westgate 8.5. But you've had 66% of the tickets that have been taken at these places, and 79% of the money is on Tampa Bay. That just doesn't. That would make me extraordinarily nervous. And had I bet Tampa Bay at the opening of -6, I think I'd be considering buying it back because I'd have that beautiful number of 7 right between it. And if Tampa Bay would win by 7, then I get both ends of it. But this game, just me personally, and I'm not trying to change your mind or anything or anybody else's mind. It just has a nervousness to it that I probably will stay away from the side, but I will have a play on the total for tomorrow that I'll release early tomorrow morning.
I agree. And to me, it does feel sort of like you're buying into the S&P 500 at all-time highs. When it opens at 6.5, it gets bet up to 8, 8.5. It seems pretty square to jump on Tampa Bay, but I'm not a big fan of Dallas either. And the difference is when you're buying the S&P 500, you're usually planning on sitting on it for a while. If you're buying Tampa Bay this week, you only need them for a week. So if there's going to be a correction in the opinion of the Tampa Bay Bucks this year, it might not necessarily happen in week one. But that being said, my favorite way to bet this game is with prop bets. I've got 3 prop bets at Sports Memo available for tomorrow night's game.
That's a great idea. Make sure, guys, you get over there and get those prop bets because they can be just as profitable as the side bets, and sometimes more. I will humbly say the last 3 weeks in my PGA golf has been nuts, and but I always come back to who I've now you get networks of people like David Berman and Nick Borman of WagerTalk. David Berman's obviously ESPN. And Buster, Don Buster of Buster Sports of Sports Memo knows golf very well. So you start surrounding yourself with those types, and I sometimes feel like I'm a sponge, where I listen and you almost I think the word is eclecticize. You take a little bit from one guy, you take a little bit from that. Yeah, that makes sense to me, and then I apply it to my models, and there's no doubt that the models have been better results, better consistency because I know those guys and we talk. You can't do it in a vacuum. So that I think that's one of the most important things I've learned over 27 years. But The S&P 500 is kind of rolling over too, so it's going to be an interesting time, to say the least. And certainly not forecasting the end of the world, Jesse, but I do think that prices are in need of a little cleansing. And then the cleansing is a good thing, and that sets the stage for the next move up. But right now, we are frothy. Maybe not as bad as 1998, but we're still frothy. Let's talk about some pro football here. And I think Tony Finn and Rob Veno are both joining us, both not joining us, or maybe Tony Finn's joining us. So we can put odds out on the board for that, too, for the chat room. See, we shouldn't be personal and have a vote for who they want over the other. But maybe another time. But I do have a game. It's at Washington, the Iron Condors. And that's what I'm going to call them. Iron Condors is a pretty complicated option trade that can work real well in a downswing like we just talked about. But I think it started with Steve Merrill and I said, like Washington, the football team. I mean, if you're a fan of that, I mean, who do you like who's your favorite team in football? Oh, the football team. Well, that implies that it's all of them, right? Or any of them. So I think Iron Condor. I should send an email to Mr. Snyder and suggest that. And if he doesn't do it, then that's fine. Maybe somebody else will come up with a better name. But don't you agree with me? Iron Condor sounds like the Washington Iron Condors.
It's no worse than the names that I've heard suggested. I'm not a big fan of the Red Wolves, the Red Hogs.
Didn't they have the Guardians too?
I'm not a big fan of any of those names, really.
Me neither. But I could see a 6'5" guy, former player in college and high school, about 270, holding a big can of beer there at FedEx Stadium, wearing an Iron Condor shirt. That makes total sense to me, but I don't plan on getting any royalties from that idea. But we do have this. The Chargers are playing Washington, and this is obviously week 1, and I do have a few notes on this game that I can share with everybody once I find out where they are. So the Chargers are starting their 21 campaign on the road in the District of Columbia. And first of all, don't make the mistake that it's a West Coast team coming to the East Coast team, because I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about that too, Jesse. That, oh boy, travel and they have to play 3 hours early. That's ancient history. Ancient history. The Chargers are now 13-3 against the number, playing against the NFC East, which I still believe all 4 of those teams are on the East Coast. So we have Justin Herbert. It's a kind of cool matchup. Justin Herbert is the reigning offensive rookie of the year. And he's going to be going up against a really good defensive front of the Iron Condors. I'm starting to like that name. But the concern all week, from what I've read, what I've studied from the sources I have a lot of respect for and have really given me a lot of intelligence, is that Washington's going to bring the house on defense. And can Justin Herbert hold up? Can that offensive line hold up? Well, I'm here to tell you that last year Herbert led the NFL with 415 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, throwing deep vertical routes under tremendous pressure. That led the NFL. Also, and I just stumbled upon this morning, their number 1 pick, left tackle Slater, is going to start. And he's amazing. The footwork that guy has is like a veteran. So he actually played against Chase Young twice in college. Chase had no pressures, no hurries, no sacks under Slater's watch. So you know where I'm going with this. I definitely lean to the Chargers, but I also think that both defenses are. Well, the Chargers defense should be a lot better. Washington, I still think, is dysfunctional on offense, and this game goes under the total. So as you can see with the system there, which I will pull up here real quick. We're going to do a first half under. So bet under in the first half with a total between 21 and 24.5 points. Team had a losing record last year and it won only 6 or 7 games in the previous season. And that's basically 38% to under 50%. 57, 23, and 2 pushes under for 71% the last 10 seasons. And as I mentioned, the Chargers are 13, 3, and 1 against the spread in road games facing an NFC East foe. And that's about all I have with that. The number has come down to 44.5 on the total as I have up top there. But this betting line was interesting. It opened with the Bolts -1. Then it went to pick. Then the Iron Condors were favored by 1. And then the last I saw was pick. And right now we are looking at here on WagerTalk.com/odds. We are looking at, right there it is. We are looking at, wow, no, that's the wrong one I'm looking at. Pick. -1 at Circa, pick at Westgate. South Point has the Chargers favored by 1. What's Penny and Penny is -1 plus 102. That's by far the best line if you like the Chargers. And Heritage is pick. So if you're going to bet them now, -1 plus 102 is the choice at Penny to take them full game. So the first half under is a 3-unit play, and the Chargers would be a 2 or 3-unit play. Not to be vague, but don't exceed 3-unit, and don't parlay them. That's rule number 1 here in week 1. Do not do the parlay. If we have 2 picks on the same game, it's just not worth it. You're adding more risk. You can always go 0-2 in these things, guys. And when you do, the parlay usually doesn't win. So do you agree with this assessment, Jesse? You have no opinion? You're definitely in disagreement of it.
No, I really like everything you said. I think you made a really convincing argument. The under sounds good, but everything you said leads me to believe that the Chargers are the best bet from everything you said, especially with the rookie offensive lineman and how well he's done against Chase Young, how well Justin Herbert's performed against pressure. And of course the NFC East. It's hard to get up to bet on the NFC East these days, regardless of who they're playing, where they're playing.
Yeah, and like I guess Tony Finn and the Rob Veno. Not that they don't like hearing this term. I think we've overused it sometimes with Steve Merrill, where he says you never want to catch a falling knife, and Dallas is still that falling knife, and unless somebody maybe in the chat room can tell me why I should like Dallas. And trust them against the reigning Super Bowl champions and, that 80-year-old quarterback that's still playing and playing at probably the highest level of anybody in the league right now. And he still has the arm speed, he has the arm strength, and the IQ, bar none. So how can I go and even take the Cowboys at 9.5 come Saturday afternoon if it goes that high? I just can't do it. I'd rather not play the game.
It's a bit of a dilemma, I guess. From my point of view, I think the Bucks are perhaps wildly overrated at the moment. They're Super Bowl champions. I didn't have them in the Super Bowl. I did have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I was a little bit shocked by that result. I was shocked at how well Tom Brady played at his age. I was shocked how they came together under Bruce Arians with all the players they brought in and how it worked with Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette and a few guys with the history of perhaps having problems at other teams. And I think there's going to be a moment to capitalize on how overrated the Bucks are, but I'm just not sure that's going to be in week 1.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'll tell you what else puts it on the top is I I try never to mention any of the celebrities, but it was one of those stations that Tony Finn considers a fade, and the topic was, "There's one thing that Tom Brady hasn't done," and I'm thinking like, what? Like, if they go to a commercial break, like, what in the world hasn't he done that would mean anything? Well, believe it or not, the question then was proposed: is this the year Brady goes undefeated with the Bucks? And I literally just was like, what? Are you kidding me? But that kind of talk adds to that bullish, irrational exuberance. I mean, there's no other way to call it. It's just, it's nuts. You just added another game to the season, and their schedule's not easy. I mean, I don't even know where that topic came from, and why would that make him more of the GOAT? I just thought it was ludicrous to even waste 10 minutes or even 10 seconds on that topic.
I laughed when I saw it at the sports book. I was going through the prop bets for the regular season, and that was one of them. Will the Bucks go undefeated? And I thought, Jesus, why are they even asking this question?
They don't give you a chance to bet against it.
No.
Because
I was looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it'd probably be, lay 100 to win $1.
Yeah.
But we have our NFL show tomorrow, Jesse. 11 a.m. It's going to be pre-recorded at 11 a.m. It'll be live when the great people at WagerTalk in the media department, like Chris Allen and James Bunning, get to polish it up and do all the bells and whistles that we appreciate so much. And that whole gang is just great. Melissa M2, as we call her, does the promos for us. And it's just nice to have a team that helps support us in getting the word out about how good we are. And I say that humbly, of course, but that's the fact. They believe in us, and we try to do our best to deliver for the clients, and it seems to be working pretty well. I did want to skip over to college football, and you had a pick yesterday on the college football show that I actually kind of liked quite a bit, and I don't know if you have your notes in front of you or if you even need them, but do you want to take a few minutes and just take a revisit to that and add anything new that you might have uncovered in the last 30 hours?
I guess it kind of goes against my character, betting into a line that's moved so much since we're talking Texas, Arkansas, right? Now I think,
yep.
Heading into Sunday, Texas was just a small favorite, and now they've been bet up. I don't know where the line is now. The last I looked, it was Texas -6.
I will pull it up while you talk.
That's a big line movement, and normally I wouldn't make a move on a line that's moved that much. It sort of goes against the principles of what I believe in. But looking at Arkansas, they didn't look very good in their opening win over Rice. That they were trailing at halftime. The game was tied after 3 quarters. They outscored Rice 21-0 in the 4th quarter, but no thanks to their quarterback, really. He only completed about half of his passes, a touchdown and an interception, just over 100 yards. I think that kind of quarterback play isn't going to bode well against a pretty good Texas team that looked really good against a ranked Louisiana Lafayette team, the Raging Cajuns. And the Raging Cajuns are bringing back all their defense, or the majority of their defensive starters, and Texas manhandled them pretty good on both in the passing game and in the run. And yeah, I think Texas looks like the real deal, and probably too much to handle for Arkansas.
Yeah, I like that play a lot as well. That opened at 6. It's now a solid 7 across the board, and probably by tomorrow morning we'll probably see 7.5s across the board. And that's a number where maybe it'll stop because it's really 8s don't occur very often in college football. It's more common in NFL actually. But you have to adjust it for the number of teams too. There's a finite set of teams, and college football has far more teams than the NFL does, obviously. So you have to adjust it based on that ratio. But I wanted to pull up one thing here on Texas. So we have, the line is 56.5, 56 now, I guess. It's gone up. No, it's come down 1.5. So let's call it 56. So that's in a line of 7. So that is basically 31.5 to 24.5. That's what the market is telling us the final score is. So if I'm right with my thought here, I think the database is going to tell us that Texas is pretty damn good when they score 28 or more points in a game. And let's see what it tells us. Hopefully it does. I'm doing this on the fly, so it could be embarrassing. All right, they're 148 and 72 over the last 10 years. I'm sorry, over the last 25 years when scoring 28 or more points. So that's pretty good. That's like 69%. The over in these games is 109 and 56, which is right around 65%. So if you think in your handicapping, and this is for the people in the chat room and listening to archived edition of it, if you think that Texas, based on your research, is going to score 28 or more, then you might want to consider the over as well. When both teams in a Texas game score 28 or more, and of course that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but they're 61 and 3 to the over the last 25 years and 9-0 the last 3. So I don't know if this gets into a track meet, Jesse, but I do think with some degree of confidence that Texas is that offense will score 28 or more, which puts them in the catbird seat to cover.
I had the under in Texas season opener and just barely hung on. It was under 58.5, and I think it landed on 56.
Yeah, I've humbly said now about 100 times in this show, but I fear the betting gods tremendously. And I do say that with humor. But I'm 5-1-1 on the season so far. The play I lost was the over in the Alabama-Miami game. And of all the 6 plays, I would have to say that was probably my third favorite if I had to rank them, which I never do. But that was one I felt pretty good about, that Miami would be able to score enough. And certainly Alabama's offense is this offense could be even better than any that Nick Saban's ever had. You can just see it. And that was only game 1. But I was surprised that they didn't easily go over the total in that one. But, it's just one game. But the game I loved was the Florida State Notre Dame game. And I'm going to segue into a line movement that is pretty significant this week. The starting quarterback for Florida State, his helmet comes off by nobody's fault. It just comes off because it's football. He has to go out of the game. In comes this guy, Milton, who had a horrific leg injury in 2018. Doctors, several weeks after he was injured, were stating that he'll be lucky to walk. And there he is, trotting on the field. And I have to admit, I was just, kind of zoning out on the couch. I had Florida State. And at that point, 38-20, I wasn't looking good. But that first pass that kid threw, I immediately sat up and I was like, oh my God. And it was just like a really cool thing to see. I don't know if you saw it live, but the parents were in the stands. You could tell that in the beginning, both of them, every time they showed them, the first couple of plays, were scared out of their minds. They just didn't want their son to get hurt again, and you can understand that. But as the scoring and the confidence in the team, followed his lead, it was pretty magical. And even the starting quarterback for Florida State, who came out because his helmet came off, it wasn't because of poor play. He was there congratulating him. And I thought that was just really cool to see. And that's a true team. That's what it's all about at the NCAA level, whether you're Alabama or whether you're Lehigh University. if you're not cheering your teammate on because you're the number one starter and you were taken out of the game, then you shouldn't be on the team. You shouldn't be the number one starter. But look who's in the house here for the final round.
Hello, gentlemen. Sorry, John.
No need to ever say sorry. I know you're busy doing like 20 shows a day, and your time is quite limited.
Couple college footballs back to back, yeah. So I didn't see my friend Tony Finn anywhere.
I think he said 4:45, but that was about half an hour ago. But things come up. It's, this is the type of show it is.
No, they do. They do. They're over there. Production is one right after the other, Joe Ranieri. Boom, 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 boom. In and out.
Well, I must say the ones where I do solo videos where I'm a guest, or especially when I'm the host now, and we did Jesse, what was it yesterday? We did 4 picks, Rob, in 10 minutes and 7 seconds. 4 picks. It was Jimmy Adams, Jesse, Mad Dog over there in Athens, Greece, and myself. And I'm proud of that because I could do 10 minutes for 1 pick on my own.
Sure. Easily.
And hopefully only 20% of the people would fall asleep or leave. But these quick hitters, I get done, and it's like running the 200-meter dash. And you get it like they said try to keep it. With 4 of us, they wanted it under 15 minutes total. And when I went last, so I could really manage the time, and I knew we were going to hit a home run. So I just cut it off, and I just missed the 10-minute mark, but I was really trying. But it seems like people like that better. They just want the pick, maybe a little of the soup and potatoes behind it. But They don't need the prime rib. They don't need the lobster tail. They don't need the Pinot Noir. They just want the pick.
Yeah. They'll get mad at you anyway. You present it to them. It doesn't matter. It better win.
Well, somebody mentioned that to me, that if you do it shorter, there's less things to be critical of. Makes
sense.
It does.
Makes sense.
I've got an analogy for you. It's like Vin Scully versus Chris Bierman.
Yeah.
Vin Scully goes on and tells you stories about 50 years ago, and Chris Bierman's the guy that does the countdown, right?
Yeah.
Did the countdown.
Yeah.
I guess he's not doing that anymore.
No, they're off of that now, Chris Berman. They drag him out for certain, I guess, high-end events, and otherwise you don't see Chris Berman anymore. Might see him ESPN playoff coverage maybe for baseball. Very possible.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, his favorite sport. I don't know that personally, but it seemed like he would get revved up for that sport in particular. Yeah. But he's got to be getting up there in age, too, isn't he?
Oh, I would think so.
And in weight.
And in weight.
I would think so.
Like pushing 80?
I don't know if he's up there.
I'm gonna. Well, you guys can talk about some. I'll look it up here because I even have ages in the database.
What was the hot topic today? Golf?
We didn't talk about any golf. We talked about Bitcoin.
Oh, Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing is set to go down. In my opinion.
Adopted it as a currency.
What? I didn't hear what Jesse said.
Just talking about El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as their currency.
Did that really happen today, or are you just kidding?
No, I believe that's what happened. I believe that's what happened. That's why it went down. The spike downward was because of a glitch in El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as currency.
Whoa. See, when I look at the charts, it doesn't speak that kind of words to me. It just tells me that, wow, that changes everything, that little pattern.
Well, I'm just going by what I picked up through the chat boards and everything. So this isn't my area of expertise, but what I was led to believe was the rally to get it up to recent highs was in anticipation for this adopting of currency in El Salvador, and then the when it tanked, that was due to a glitch, and then it's subsequently come back up, or maybe perhaps not, but something that you probably want to look into, I guess.
For sure. That's almost frightening. That's wow. But anyway, Chris Berman is about the same age as Tony Finn, 66.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you get a weight?
No. 6'4". 1.92 meters in height. Doesn't give a weight. CelebrityNetWorth.com says he's worth $30 million. Has a boy and a girl named Douglas and Meredith. And NFL Primetime was 1992 when that started, and America's Parking Lot in 2012, which I don't remember that at all, but that's the news on that.
Graduate of Brown, I think. Brown Brewing.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, so he's got to be pretty smart. So anyway, that's about Chris Berman. I am going to show this chart to you, Rob Veno, whether you like it or not.
All right.
Let me get, because it's pretty. I just want you to see it because this is like it should be a case study at NYU in their book. So where's my? Did I get? I hope I didn't get rid of it. Here we go. I just have to reopen the screenshot. Well, then again, maybe not. Oh, I know where it is. I sent it to my Slack. There we are. There we are.
There you go.
Here we go. So, this is Bitcoin. Every bar is a day. Yesterday was a monster day because we went from about 42,000 to 53,000, 125. That's not the all-time high, but that's the high of this recent move from the 28,000 level, which you can see to the left there. Wish I had my pointer, but I guess I do. Yeah. Right here in this channel, this is called a descending triangle because you can see how it looks like a triangle. Mm-hmm. This was a weekend, and Steve Merrill was on the show with me. And obviously, if you break through these channels or these patterns, it's going to cause a reaction because everybody and their brother sees it. This particular one caused some significant short covering. Guys that were short got out, such as myself. And I have no position now. This was an engulfing candle here. That led to these little moves here. And then it just kind of chopped around. And it looked like here was going to be a pretty good day. But this one right here is almost a doji where the open and the close are exactly the same. And that is a signal of a trend change. So there's your first like yellow flag. And then we had... I'm glad Jesse brought that up because I rarely want to know what caused it because it's almost like listening to the announcers in a football game. It affects my objectivity. But knowing that it's potentially El Salvador trying to adopt it as their currency is amazing. But Amazon is adopting it too as a payment method. And Amazon, I think, market capitalization is probably bigger than El Salvador. So maybe it's not that big a deal. But when you have a new high and a failure of that new high of the most recent move up, and you go down this hard, and then this is the reaction you get the next day, that means the red candle means that the close was lower than the open. That's called a dead cat bounce. Steve Merrill would like that. That is called a dead cat bounce. And that term comes from all the way back to the early 1900s, believe it or not. So it's going to be interesting that if we can't get above here, which is the bottom end of this sideways consolidation pretty soon, that this now acts as overhead resistance. today's high, if that's not taken out by noon at the latest, I think you're going to see a pretty big flood that will send it down closer to 40,000 than anything else. And then, of course, the S&P 500 is also looking very tired. It's had such a run and very little corrective action. And as I was saying to Jesse, these downdrafts and corrections are cleansing mechanisms, just like hurricanes are. That's Mother Nature's way of cleansing the environment, the atmosphere for a little bit. And such is the case in the markets. So it actually is healthy to have that happen because it sets the stage up for the next bull move to higher prices. But we'll have to see, because that's a monster engulfing candle. I mean, that's one of the biggest ones I think I've ever seen.
I don't think I've ever heard your opinion on Bitcoin, John. Is it something that you're bearish on, or do you think it's going to be a decent inflation hedge long term, or how do you feel about it?
I don't know about the inflation hedge part about it. Like being a currency strategist, my last position, you want to buy the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and the Canadian dollar. And since you're from British Columbia, that's probably easy for you to do. And the reason you want to do that is that those are commodity-based countries. So when inflation starts to creep up, interest rates here in the United States and Europe start to inch up, monetary policy starts to get tighter. You want to own those currencies because they're the ones that are going to go up the most. I don't know if there's any correlation at all to inflation with Bitcoin. I do know there's a correlation to the S&P 500. It was a lot better before the collapse of Bitcoin, and it's kind of resuming now because you can see that it's rallied. S&P has rallied. But like I said, if I had a chance to get short right in this, I took it off now, that area right there, which looks like about 47,500. I would sell a contract there, short, and when you're short, you're looking for prices to drop. So if it goes from 47.5 to say 40, that's 7,500 per the contract. So that would be a significant move just on one contract in Bitcoin.
And the recent lows were right around 30, right?
Yeah, 28. You can see it on the other side of the screen here. I can actually put it back on. Right here, 28.8. See that at one point you have to like picture this in your head. At one point during the day, this was all red, and it's falling red, 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 red. So red's bad, according to my way of diagramming it. But then you had the rally that actually had it close above the opening, and that is a hammer. That's a hammer right there. That's what it's called. And that looks like a hammer, right? Look, there's the end of the hammer. You would hold it here, and you'd swing it. Those are trend reversal type of patterns, and pretty reliable. But here, we banged up against the overhead resistance, and then we were right against it the whole way down. And then finally it broke through. So that's what created this. But right now, I would be short-term bearish on this Bitcoin, and as long as prices didn't take out that high at 53,125, I would be short probably into next week and just see what happens, because you really don't know what's going to happen. It's just like betting. You do your research and you think you have that really good bet on the Dallas Cowboys, and you don't know what the end result is really going to be. You hope it's going to cover, but the three of us know that over time, course of the season, we're going to probably make our clients a significant amount of money. I started out 2-6 the first 2 weeks last year in the NFL, and ended up 65.8 for the season. So, I mean, Rob's going to get sick and tired of hearing me say this, but I think it's a good analogy. You take a pro golfer. How many times do you see a pro golfer just get 18 pars? Hardly ever. Don't they sometimes have adversity, and sometimes a hole that they should tear up doesn't quite go well, and that equates to getting backdoored by a 28-point underdog when your team was winning 35-0 at halftime. You know, it's going to happen. It could happen in the first hole. It could happen in the sixth hole, 16th, 18th. And you don't know. But you do know it's going to happen. And, you know, I don't know anybody that's had 17 consecutive weeks of winning picks in the NFL. And if anybody does know somebody like that, we should get him on the show. And then have Las Vegas Chris interview him.
There's a lot of guys on the internet that would claim that.
Oh, there are.
Yeah. Well, they're welcome to come on the show, you know, but be prepared. Could you imagine Tony Finn interviewing somebody like that?
Yeah, I don't think they want to share.
Man, that would be worse than the district attorney interviewing somebody.
We definitely don't want to drop names, but I'm sure we're familiar with some of the names out there, guys that just never lose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they drive Volkswagens. Not that Volkswagen's bad. I didn't mean to say it that way. But
and they
if
rent
you're
Ferraris,
if you're as good as these guys, right. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, because Volkswagens they basically use the Porsche chassis for a lot of their cars. They're great vehicles. So I apologize for insulting anybody who loves VWs.
Mm-hmm.
But I still miss my Jeep Wrangler, guys. I shouldn't have said the Volkswagen. I'm getting through the day today. Yeah, my lab is understanding that the Jeep is not coming back, and that we're going to have to suffer for a little bit. But you know, eventually we'll end the grieving period for the Jeep Wrangler Arctic Edition, and we'll move on. It's pretty amazing that it's not in my driveway. It's taken me a while to get used to it. It's almost like waking up, and if you're not quite awake, you think, oh my God, so he stole my Jeep.
Right.
But anyway, why don't we go to a round of best bets here, and we'll call it a night. Jesse, you're welcome to review the game you did earlier, or you can do a new one, but I have no problem with you doing the first one, because that's one that I like, and I think people should get on that now rather than later.
I do have a baseball bet for tonight, actually.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Let it rip.
We got the Dodgers in St. Louis, and of course the Dodgers are still trying to hunt down San Francisco, and we've seen the Cardinals only score 3 runs in the first 2 games of that series, and the total's 8.5, and I kind of like the under here. Mitch White's going to go for the Dodgers. Don't know a lot about the kid, but he's allowed 3 runs in his last 2 starts, combined 10 and 2/3 innings. And he's not facing a real heavy-hitting Cardinals team. And then there's Adam Wainwright, who has kind of turned back the clock of late. Wainwright's 4-1 with a 0.74 ERA in his last 5 starts. He's been outstanding. So the weatherman says that weather will not have an impact on this game. 8.5 seems like a pretty big number for this total.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's been a long time since I disagreed with anybody. I think that, you know, when it was last time, it was poor Mr. Finn when he said, "You're actually going to support John Lester?"
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I do remember that. And
Yeah.
John Lester won.
Yeah, that was luck, but it was based on the whole reason there was such a good discussion is that you get these situations. You don't know if that's going to happen, if you're going to win tonight with that kind of a dog, but you know if you play those situations consistently over time, you will. And that was a good discussion for sure. And I think you guys like the Bitcoin and the PGA just as much as the NFL, by the way. Max on record has his own opinion, but I appreciate him providing it. So anyway, I guess we'll go to me.
All right.
Let me think here. Rob, since I'm the host, I'm going to have you go next. because I'm on the fence on what I want to do, and I don't know if I want to do a prop bet tonight or tomorrow.
All right.
So I'll figure that out while you do yours.
Well, I'll go to a team that's really kind of playing their way out of a wild card. And if they're going to get back in, they got to win a couple of games here. The Oakland A's tonight, home against the White Sox. But Frankie Montas is a guy that I've backed frequently over the course of the last couple of months, and he's really been steady as a rock up until, I think, his last outing. But Montas, over his last 7 starts, has a 2.01 ERA, and he's been as good as it gets for that team. He's actually been since Chris Bassett went down, guys. That's really I know Oakland was somewhat spiraling, but they were still in possession of that second wild card, I think, when Chris Bassett got hit by the pitch, and that really took a toll on this rotation. And the only guy that's been able to kind of keep things going is Frankie Montas. So tonight he gets a White Sox lineup. They're difficult, of course, but Dallas Keuchel on the hill for the other side. As pro as I am on Montas, you have to be fading Dallas Keuchel at this point in time. Last 3 starts, he's only gone 9 innings total in all 3. He's given up 16 earned runs. If you go back, I think he's only had 1 good start out of his last 6. Oakland at home here should be able to do some damage against Keuchel. And like I say, Montas, you don't want to get involved with the A's bullpen, so I'm going first 5 innings here. The A's bullpen has been responsible for a lot of late inning losses since the All-Star break for this team. There was one particular series against Seattle where it all started, and since then it's just been a hunt for a closer for the Oakland A's. Nobody's been able to get anybody out. But if we stick to 5 innings here, guys, can lay half a run, minus $1.30 with Oakland and Montas. I think that's more than sufficient. I think the edge he has over Keuchel is even bigger than that. So I'm going to play Oakland first 5, minus half a run, minus 130.
That sounds excellent, and I already, for those that are listening, it's one of the games of my 3-pack that goes tonight at sportsmemo.com, so there's one of them. And I like Oakland quite a bit here. I think it's a cheap price, and they do need to get their act together. Another team that needs to get their act together is the Philadelphia Filthies. I made the mistake of driving this morning to get coffee at Starbucks and turned on 97.5, the fan. And, I have a rental truck now, and I darn near threw up in it. It was unbelievable, Rob. You probably listened to a little bit too, but my goodness. I mean, okay, it was 10-0, but it was a loss. You don't get penalized for losing by 10.
Right.
And what was the score the night before?
It's like 12-0 the other way, right?
Yeah. So they don't talk about that game. They're all focused on Aaron Nola, and he sucks. And he had no velocity, he had no movement, and the guy sucks, and he should be traded. That's the Philadelphia fan base.
Of course. Whatever happened last. You just wonder what the problem is on the road with Aaron Nola this year. It's been continuous. At home, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's a harder park to pitch in, but he does well here. And
it is a harder, you're right. Road. I mean, it's a sandbox.
Yeah, it's difficult, but Bryce Harper's being mentioned now more than ever in MVP talk, creeping right up on Fernando Tatis, even as recently as a couple of weeks ago. I think when we were listing National League MVPs, Bryce Harper, his numbers were, not those of a serious candidate, but now, boy, oh boy, back over 300 with the batting average. His OPS has been tremendous all season long, and he's trying to carry these guys. So we'll see what goes on there tonight in Milwaukee. I think it's Freddie Peralta, who has not been good since he came off the DL, or the IL. I guess you're not supposed to call it the DL anymore, the IL, the injured list.
So that is my free pick. I am going to the F and Tony Homer route because he loves the Philadelphia Phillies, folks. And I hope he's listening to it because he just about broke his pen or his pencil if he is. But what else I was going to say? Now, the one thing I wanted to point out with this game this year the Phillies, after being shut out, are 0-6.
Ooh.
Okay, they're 0-6. But you know what? It's nonsense. We talk about that P value or the JR value. That's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless for this game at this time of the year. It has no value. So if you hear that from anybody, which you probably will if you watch the right shows, and I'm not saying they're idiots for saying it, it's a fact. It's 0-6 after a shutout. But it's at a point now where it's due. I'm not due. It actually works in the opposite direction. It actually supports the fact that, okay, it's not going to be 0-7. It's going to be 1-6 after tonight. Mm-hmm. And not in a big way, just mathematically speaking. But there's a lot of angles that I won't get into for time's sake that support the Phillies tonight in a big way. And Gibson's on the hill, and I've never stopped liking that trade since they did it. And lastly, we did talk about Aaron Nola if they make the playoffs. That it might be good to have Gibson and Wheeler go 1-2 on the road and have Nola at home for Game 3. That's becoming more and more evident, at least to my eyes.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain.
The Reds actually have the easiest schedule down the stretch for this wild card, and the Phillies probably have to win the division, but they're right there. And they have the second easiest schedule coming up. They finished the year. I guess I was on with Tony Finn, and I think you were you had a concert to attend on Friday, I believe, if I remember right.
Yes, sir.
So we were talking about it, and I said within 20 games, the Phillies will be in first place. So I think we've had 6 go by since then, and I had them losing the Milwaukee series. I don't have them sweeping any of the bad teams, but taking 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, winning the series. And if they do that, they should have about a 2-game lead going into Atlanta for a 3-game series, and then that's 3 games, and then they finish the season at Miami. So if I'm right, and this little scenario comes to be true, and they do have a 2-game lead, that means Atlanta has to sweep. And I don't see Atlanta sweeping the Phillies the way Bryce Harper is taking them on his back. I mean, he's taking the whole team on his back. And you're absolutely right, Rob. And before we let everybody go, I just want to see what the player awards lines are now. So that would be Cy Young Award. Since Walker Buehler got hammered in that last start, he's not favored minus Vig anymore. He's plus 140.
Yeah, the talk is Scherzer now.
Yeah. How ironic is that? You get moved to the best team, and you basically just win out.
Yeah, but he's been unbelievable since he got to L.A. Unbelievable.
And I went against him last night, thinking there was some value with St. Louis, and boy, was I wrong. But the other ones did pretty well. I had Texas. Texas I've gotten a fancy to lately. But anyway, Bryce Harper is 5-1. Tatis is minus 250, so that's a fairly large gap. But Max Muncy is 9-1. Freddie Freeman 9-1. Joey Votto's 20-1. So it's a 2-horse race. And if San Diego doesn't make it.
Yeah, 5-1 is worth it.
Yep. Let's put that down as pizza money too. 5-1, Harper. But I think we were talking about on the show, and I actually think I bet pizza money. I'll have to check my blotter. Wasn't he like 18-1?
Well, I remember Tony Mejia was with us the last time, and Freddie Freeman was probably about 9-1 at that time, because I know he liked Freeman. But the whole group of them was in that general vicinity.
It wasn't 18. You know? I think you're right. I think it was like 10 or 11, 12.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them there with Tatis being like a minus money.
Yep. So I have, let's go over the odds here real quick. The Phillies with Gibson on the hill, and I would box Gibson because you never know. So plus 150 at Westgate, and Penny plus 147. So I'm going to give myself 147. 147. Phillies full game. Gibson starts. And then, Rob, your game was again?
Oakland, first 5.
Oh, my God. This is what happens when you get up at 4 a.m. and you're not 30 years old anymore.
Yeah, you got to write things down.
I do. Mm-hmm. And then I forget to write things down because I'm not 30. And then Jesse has Dodgers Cards under 8.5. So I like that one quite a bit too. So I can't disagree with you guys. I know you guys love golf, and I nailed the last 3 tournaments for our record. So I don't have it in front of me, but it's pretty ridiculous, the ROI on the pizza bets right now. And it's because of that. You get lucky sometimes. So we might go 20 NFL prop bets and pizza bets that don't win. But they sure are fun to do. So our record is 64 per. I'm sorry, we were 0-3 yesterday.
Oops.
So if you weren't on the show, don't feel bad. But I had the Cardinals as a show bet. We had Yankees minus 1.5. They lost outright. It was a little on the ugly side. But you know what? We are. I'm going to show you what we are right now. We're 46-29 for 61.3% winning bets, whether it's against the spread or money line, run line, totals. Comes out to a nice 28.3% ROI over our last 25 shows, that's at least 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. When you go 0-3, and you still have that kind of change in your pocket, I feel pretty good about it.
Absolutely.
And the odds of us. I do have the prop bets totaled here. We won top 5 with Cantlay at 5-1. Rahm top 5 at 450. Pizza money profits at $10 per pizza bet. $518 over the last 10 weeks.
Can't beat it.
I mean, not going to buy a Porsche with it, but I can get a pretty damn good pizza with that.
Yeah.
I might even buy a pizza maker. But anyway, I'll let you guys go. I know I'm busy. Tomorrow's a big day. You think Tampa Bay, Rob? I have to ask.
Well, it's hard to build the case for Dallas, but we did see a few places now move to that, the teaser guard, so to speak, up to 9.5 in some areas to try and protect themselves against the teaser money that's coming with Tampa Bay. It's just hard, right? It's hard to make the case for Dallas, but as high as, the more the point spread goes up, the less you really need the argument. At that point, you're just playing the number, period, and hope that Dallas stays within striking distance and maybe comes up with a backdoor cover. So,
what did Marco had a teaser on it? I think Marco D'Angelo on WagerTalk today. I think I could be dead wrong, but if you know what it is, I'd be curious to know what the total side was. I figured it had to be Tampa Bay teased down, and then I didn't know what the over or the under was. But
the total in that particular game?
Yeah, he had a teaser, and I just haven't been able to follow up to see exactly what it was. But I would, I would have to think it was teasing the total down, and teasing Tampa Bay down. But now, you say it's 9.5 at some places. Now you can tease Dallas up.
Oh, sure. You get caught underneath 17, but you get over 14 at this point.
That almost seems completely foolish to even think about anything that with a team tomorrow night that starts with the letter D.
I'm looking right now. It looks like there's a lot of 8.5s, a couple of straight 8s, and a 9.5 at Bet Online.
And that's what, plus 105
that is
big, right? And that's protecting the teaser, like you said. Exactly right.
Yeah, because now if you play a 6-point teaser, you're only down to 3.5 in a field goal game, you lose. So the rest of them you could tease under a field goal, 8.5 down to 2.5. And, if Tampa squeaks it out, you're a winner. on that particular bet. So, yeah, that's typical of NFL football. We see that every single week where a game hops from 7.5 up to 9, and those who are unaware think that, wow, that's a huge line move, but it's really just a protection move. That's all it is for odds makers. So
well, guys, it brings it to the end of the show. We'll start another one tomorrow at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have a NFL show at 11 a.m. Being recorded and then published to the YouTube channels and the other platforms that we're on. So Jesse Shull will be part of that, a bunch of other guys as well. So I'm looking forward to that because then we can really, really hash it out. And, being in these contests, guys, the first week for me, sometimes it's the hardest to get those 5 picks because, you want to get out of the gate well. You don't have to go 5-0, but you don't want to go 1-4. But like I said, with the golfer, I mean, a lot of golfers have won majors double bogeying the first hole. So, it's not the end of the day if the first week doesn't go well. So anyway, I will let you guys go. So for Rob Veno, myself, and Jesse Schultz, WagerTalk.com, sportsmemo.com, and the Predictive Playbook TV channel, may all the wins continue to be yours. Thanks a lot for listening, guys.